welcome to Replenish. This is the atmosphere of discovery where we discover the Master's plan for our lives. So today is the 97th session, and we will be talking about depression. Okay, so um, for all of you that are subscribing here at YouTube, thank you. I would like to go on Facebook Live as well. So when you finish this video and you subscribe to this channel, go over to Facebook and also follow Replenish 3125 as well. Okay, so back to it. Depression can be a feeling, it can be an emotion, or a mood disorder, right? And a disorder is when something is persistently not balanced or functioning properly in the mind, in the emotions, or in the body. Okay. Depression can be a full body experience that affects how you think, feel, function, and relate to the world around you. So it's more than just a feeling of being sad or going through a rough patch. It has a persistence about it, right? It's constantly feeling sad. It's constantly being in that cycle. But I'm only discussing depression as a thought, feeling, or emotion because I am not a clinical psychologist. Okay. So if you have been diagnosed with clinical depression, you may still be able to gain some insight or some additional support through this session. So depression involves emotional symptoms like sadness, emotional numbness, hopelessness, emptiness, right? Guilt, shame, even anger. Okay. So you can feel depressed because you have these symptoms, but not be depressed, right? And the difference is how long it lasts and how often that you feel it. So you can feel depressed because of stressful life events, right? And that can include the loss of a loved one, right? And we're not just talking about death. We're talking about someone moves away, or you don't have access to that person anymore, or they become ill. Other stressful life events, relationship problems, right? Financial struggles, and major life changes, any major life change, right? Whatever that has changed in your life and is stressing you out, it doesn't have to be bothering anybody else. But if it's a stressful life event to you, it could be causing depression, right? Another thing is your personality. If you're someone who has low self esteem, or you often lean toward negativity, or you have a history of anxiety, sometimes it's your personality, certain characteristics in your personality that can make you feel depressed, right? Also, biological factors, right? Imbalances in the brain chemicals. It may be genetic related, or certain medical issues or conditions, chronic illnesses, right, can cause you to feel depressed. Also, some medications, right, they make you more prone to becoming depressed. Substance use and abuse, okay, or even hormonal issues. These are reasons why you can feel depressed. And depression does not just affect your emotions, it can affect you mentally by changing how your brain works, right? Remember, this is a computer. It's important what goes in because it affects what comes out. You may have cognitive issues like trouble thinking, trouble remembering things, or making decisions. You experience these negative thought patterns constantly, always seeing the bad in everything. You have this self-loathing attitude, and this just feelings of hopelessness. It also causes you to be motivated in the wrong direction where you have issues starting things, even simple things. Okay. And your perception can become distorted because you're seeing everything in an overwhelmingly negative light, right? And your thoughts may feel like they've slowed down, or you're just stuck in these repetitive loops of like in a downward spiral, right? Depression can affect you physically by causing you to be constantly tired and fatigued, even after you've slept 8 hours, 10 hours. Okay, you can have insomnia or you can oversleep. Your appetite changes, right? You either don't eat, don't have an appetite, or you're overeating. So you experience these weight losses and weight gains regularly. You have unexplained aches and pains, backaches, right? Digestive issues. You also have a weakened immune system. You're more prone to illness because of the chronic stress. Depression, as I said, affects you emotionally. It alters your emotional experience, and you don't really have the ability to regulate your emotions. There's constant sadness or feeling empty, feeling numb, feeling sorrowful, right? You're irritable and angry. Those small irritations and frustrations can trigger strong emotional reactions. Okay, if you're overreacting to something small, it may be a sign that there's an issue with depression, right? You have loss of interest or pleasure. Things you used to enjoy now all of a sudden feel meaningless to you. Guilt and worthlessness, feeling like a burden, feeling like you failed, even without it being justified. It's just a feeling that you have. And that emotional numbness where you feel disconnected from yourself, from who you are, and even from other people. Okay. Depression also affects you spiritually, right? You lose that meaning of a life and purpose, and you don't understand, like, why am I even here? Right? You feel spiritually cut off from God. You feel like he's not hearing you. You have this guilt or shame from even being depressed, right? And then you begin questioning your beliefs, things that you once sought comfort in, things you once was certain in. Now you begin to question. And so many of us silently carry heavy emotional burdens, silently, right? Pain, hopelessness, discouragement. The feelings may be real, but hope is also real, right? And you're never broken beyond repair. You're not alone. And most importantly, there is a way forward, okay? So your feelings and your emotions must submit to something. Okay. And when we name our feelings, when we're saying how we feel and things like that, we're not doing this to surrender to it, right? We're doing this to disarm it because they like the secrecy. They like to thrive on the shame of this is how I'm feeling, right? But your feelings and emotions must submit to something. And hopefully, if you know God, they're submitted to Him, right? Because He's bigger than all that stuff. Okay. And you must resist the enemy in your emotions so there isn't even a crack for him to crawl through into your feelings, right? It will use your hurt, things that actually hurt you. It will use that hurt to cause depression and despair, which can open up the door to agreements with death, right? Now you have all these thoughts of not being here anymore, okay? When you are constantly discouraged and disappointed, you can become depressed and frustrated, right? And it can also create those bitter roots in your soul. That's why isolation is not good in those moments, because you need someone that recognizes that and that can help pull you out of that. But you know what beats discouragement? Optimism, seeing the positive side, right? Not comparing yourself to others beats discouragement, right? Don't be alone. Let someone know your thoughts and feelings so that you have another perspective before you drive yourself into frustration, into that isolation, into bitterness. So let me remind you, and this is something I often say, you can feel away, but not be away. Okay. You become certain feelings when you keep thinking like it, when you keep feeling like it, and then you act like it. So you have to change your thoughts so that you can change your feelings, so that you change your actions. And this goes for any emotion, not just depression, right? You have to look at it as a personality that is trying to intertwine with your identity, right? So when something, an emotion intertwines with your identity, it's hard to break from that because you feel like now this is who I am. This is my personality. This is a part of me now, right? Because emotions don't have a physical body, right? They must use somebody's body, right, to feel their thoughts and to fulfill their thoughts and feelings. Anger, fear, depression, rejection must use your brain. It must use your imagination, your mouth, your hands to fulfill its desires. So sometimes it helps to look at emotions as a personality that's trying to intertwine with you, with your identity, so that it can use your brain. And I find that really smart people have a harder time kind of letting go because they're so smart. So it's using their brain to come up with more ways to stay there. Does that make sense? Every thought, every feeling, every emotion needs your consent to stay around. Okay? If you reject them, they cannot stay. Whatever was not there in your creation, right? It has to have an agreement with you to infiltrate God's design. I'm going to say that again. Whatever was not with you in your creation, It has to have an agreement of some sort to infiltrate God's design. Our brains are powerful, and we forget who created these bodies, right? It wasn't a tech giant, right? It was the all knower, the all seer, okay, the almighty. And so he knew just what to give it the ability to do to sustain itself here on the earth with everything that would happen, okay? And he did not make a mistake. It's our agreements, no matter how small, right? Our distractions, our lack of management of our thoughts, of our feelings and actions that causes it not to work properly. So you can actually break your brain, right? By not stewarding it right, right? By not feeding it what it needs, feeding it toxic things. Okay. So many times we're easily brainwashed and influenced into the opposite direction of our success, right? The opposite direction of our healing and the restoration. That's how you know there's some brokenness going on. Okay. And that puts us into deeper depression, more fear, more anxiety, more rage, more hopelessness, more anger, more guilt. Okay. And so you can feel depressed, but be high functioning because you fail to realize the chaos in your life, right? You fail to realize the sign that, hey, something's wrong. Hey, there's a signal going off in my emotions and my feelings trying to let me know something's wrong. Even in your body, when you don't respond to your feelings letting you know, when you don't respond to your emotions letting you know, your body then lets you know that something is wrong, right? Simply because you have become numb to the confusion and disorder. But as an adult, it's your duty to begin to assess those feelings by digging into the origin, right? Then investigate them so that you can begin to manage and direct your thoughts about it, right? And it's not easy work, right? Especially if you're used to 20 thoughts a minute that you're having to combat, right? So it's not easy. And that's why I said about people that are intelligent, they have these high functioning brains and high functioning intelligence. I mean, it eats at that, right? Because you know so much that it's drawing from what you know and it's causing you to basically break yourself, right? But once you're able to manage your thoughts about it, then you can determine how you want to feel about it, right? Then you decide how you're going to respond and what impact you will allow it to have on your life going forward. And that's kind of where the break happens, right? We might acknowledge it, but then we still let it determine what type of life we're going to have. We still let it say, you're going to stay in the house today. You're not going to call anybody today. You're not going to eat today. We still let it direct our life instead of responding in a way where that impact will allow us to live a life that we were created to live, right? And so you have to get those thoughts in order and you have to start managing your own feelings before they begin to control your life. So when we take those moments to do all of those self-care activities, we have to remember to take care of our mind, to take care of those emotions and take care of our spirit as well, right? Have you ignored the hunger and the thirst of your spirit and your unprocessed emotions, but you choose to maintain the perfect skincare routine? You have the perfect workout, right? Every muscle is defined. There's zero fat, no cellulite, right? So you become an empty, depressed, tormented person with perfect skin and a great body, right? Take care of your mental, emotional, and spiritual health as well. That should be a part of your self-care routine. It does no good to be a beautiful creature in the grave, right? Because you allowed your emotions and your mind to drive you to that place. Does that make sense? I hope this is resonating with you. So depression is not a permanent state, okay? It wants you to feel that way. Listen to me. It wants you to feel that way, but it's not a permanent state. It is a signal that something deeper needs attention, right? And so there has been a misalignment between your soul, your body, and your thoughts, and you got to line them back together. They all need to match. They all need to be saying the same thing, right? Your emotions are not the enemy. Remember, God created the emotions, okay? But mismanagement of them are, right? He created the emotion so to signal you that, hey, process this. Hey, deal with this. Hey, this isn't right. This is affecting you, but you're acting like it's not. You keep going to work and you're acting like this isn't bothering you. But hey, knock, knock, knock. He created it to signal you that something's off balance before it causes your body to be off balance. Does that make sense? So the emotions are not your enemy. It's the mismanagement of them, not being able to regulate them. That is what the enemy is. So this feeling you are feeling, it is an invitation to begin the healing process, right? When we have a negative feeling or a negative emotion, a lot of times we're taught that survival mode, shut it down, you got stuff to do. No, that's an invitation to start healing. You got to see it a different way, okay? Remember, all of our feelings give us information about our emotions, even the negative ones, okay? And we use them as signals. We use them as signals. We use this as information. We do not use them as life directors, right? They are directing your entire life. They are directing your mood. They are directing when you eat. They are directing when you sleep. They are directing your level of success, right? That's not what they were created for. Okay. So depression is not who you are, it's something that you are experiencing. Okay. Don't tie it in with your identity. Don't do that. Okay. It's your cry for alignment and restoration. You don't have to stay in its influence, right? So submit your emotions to God. Resist the enemy, right? Not just with your willpower, but with truth. And then begin speaking the truth over yourself. Have you spoken the truth over yourself today? Or are you only speaking the things you don't want to happen, right? Or you don't want to be? Is that the only thing that you've spoken today? It's 3 o'clock, 3:19, right? Have you spoken the truth over yourself today? Start speaking life even when you don't feel good, because you will be transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? And what you say can help renew your mind, can help put your thoughts back into alignment. And when your thoughts are back into alignment, your feelings will be back aligned, which will cause your emotions to be back aligned, right? So you feel what you think. You feel what you think, and you act on what you feel, right? And then you reinforce what you act upon. So the solution is to interrupt the cycle, right? Replace the thoughts of despair with hopeful ones, right? If you don't know any hopeful thoughts, look them up, right? Ask ChatGPT, okay? Or ask somebody that knows you to give you some hopeful thoughts, right? You want to replace loneliness and isolation with connection, with the right people, with the right community. Not Don't go back connecting to that old community, right? That kept you stuck, right? You want to replace inaction with small but meaningful habits, right? They don't have to start big. Replace that inaction with small, meaningful habits. You may or may not, you may, right? Change your whole life in a day. You just take off that old mindset and put on new attitude, renewed mind, and start acting that way. You may, or you may not, but you can change your direction moment by moment, right? It's a decision. It's what you decide, right? So you can also make sure that you find at least one truth a day that is not negative, right? We have some negative truths, but if you are feeling low, you don't need negative truths right now, right? Positive truths. Start writing down your thoughts so that you see where the pattern is in your negative thinking. Move your body every day, even if it's a short walk and not just to the fridge and to the bathroom, right? Move your body every day. Don't stay still. The body don't just need movement, the mind needs that movement as well, right? Stay connected with at least one person that you trust. And it has to be somebody that you trust more than yourself. And I say that because when they tell you that you're not thinking right and you're not acting right, you'll believe them, right? And you'll do something about it. So it can't be somebody that you don't trust more than you trust yourself. It has to be someone that you trust, that you know when they say it, you can't see it because you're stuck in your feelings, right? But they will be able to tell you, hey, come out of there. Like, that's not you. This is not what we do, right? Get at least one person that you trust more than yourself, okay? And then meditate on scripture. Pray, right? If you need help finding scriptures, you can email me or order the book, Take Twice Daily. That is two scriptures a day, and it has a little devotional with it, right? Meditate on that, okay? If you don't know how to pray, I'll teach you, right? Let me know you don't know how to pray. We can, all these things, there's answers to them. It's not, oh, I don't know and I won't ever know. No, I'm an intercessor. We can pray together, right? You also want to reduce overstimulation, right? Social media, chaos, toxic TV shows, too much sugar, alcohol, caffeine, right? And some of you know what throws you out of whack, but you keep engaging in it, right? Avoid that overstimulation, okay? And in all of these suggestions that I am giving you, you don't need to feel like it to do it, okay? You don't have to feel like it to do it. Sometimes your body has to go first, right? And then your feelings can follow what you act upon, right? And for those of you who do know scripture, as it says, faith without works is dead, right? So you can't just keep saying out of your mouth, I want to be better, and you're doing nothing towards it getting better. But you did something, you clicked on this video, right? So that's a work, right? And so we don't want to just treat those emotional symptoms. We want to restore and replenish the mind and the spirit, right? You don't just want the body to feel better. You don't want to just get rid of the physical symptoms, because sometimes people only get good enough or better enough to stop the physical symptoms, but they're not worried about the mind and the emotions and the spirit, right? Build routines that nourish all parts of you, right? Don't just nourish your body. So yes, you need to eat right, because some of that depression could be related to your diet. You eat a lot of high processed foods, too much sugar. All that can make you feel even worse, right? But you need to find nourishment for your mind, for your emotions, for your soul and your spirit. And we talked about that in foundational principles. That was way in the beginning. But you have the power to choose. You have the power to choose joy, to choose healing, to choose support, to choose love. Even if it feels far away today, your next step is only a decision away, right? If you want to get back in the right direction, it's one choice away, one decision away. And so your healing begins with awareness, right? Because depression thrives in isolation. It thrives in discouragement and hopelessness, right? Your feelings are real in the sense that you feel them, right? But they're not always true. Because if the thought in your mind was a lie, and you feel the real feeling and you feel the real emotion, but if the thought was a lie, right? That's why I say you got to have at least one person you trust more than yourself. Then the feeling gets based off of a lie. Does that make sense? But God gave you a mind, He gave you a heart, He gave you a body, and the power to choose what you partner with to sustain them or tear them down. You choose, right? He gave us free will. We choose. Are we going to choose the things that's going to keep them functioning properly, that's going to keep them balanced, that's going to keep them whole? Or are we going to choose the thing that tears them apart, that tears them down and wears them down? So think of one recurring emotion or lie that has been weighing you down. Write down where you think it came from, right? And what have you agreed with about it? And then write down what truth God says instead. And if you don't know what God says, start talking to Him or talk to somebody that know Him, right? There's no excuse. There's a lot of people that know God. If you don't feel like you know Him, or you don't feel like He hears you, there's somebody that knows, right? Write down the thing, the recurring emotion or feeling that has been weighing you down, and write down where you think it came from. And what have you agreed with about it? And most of the time, the agreements come like this, right? It's to affect your future. So it's never like past tense. It's always make sure you never trust people. It's always to affect your future, right? It wants to drive. It wants to direct your life, right? So that recurring emotion or lie, It wants to stay in your life. So it has to project future tense, right? It has to get you to feel for the future so that it stays in you. Does that make sense? So whatever you have agreed with it, okay? You want to write down the truth that God says instead. Get somebody that knows the Bible, that has a relationship with God. If you have a relationship with God, ask him. It's all in the Bible, but ask him. And wait. Like, after you ask him, wait for him to respond. Don't go off and do something else, right? So I want you to challenge yourself to do that. Depression is a reduction in happiness and joy and energy and drive. It's a reduction in motivation in the right direction, right? Or interest, okay, for extended periods of time. So it deepens in isolation, right? Being alone with your negative thoughts and your sorrows begin to wear on you. Even when you're not alone, you can still be agreeing with those negative, persistent thoughts that keeps feeding the depression, right? What you don't feed, it starves and it dies, right? But those thoughts and those feelings keep feeding it, right? When you have problems or you get entangled in other people's problems, you begin to feel guilty and depressed when you can't solve them, okay? But if you can't solve it and you don't hear the answer to solve it or get the answer to solve it, stop accepting the problems that are brought to you, okay? That is on purpose. If God wanted you to solve it, he would have gave you the answer, period. No comma, okay? No comma, no colon, no semicolon. If he wanted you to solve it, he would have given you the answer, right? So if you don't have the answer, that's not your problem to solve. Even your own problems, if you don't have the answer, it's not your problem to solve. He will direct you on where to get the answer or who to get the answer from, or he'll just lay the answer right out in front of you, right? But some of the things, some of the problems we have, we're supposed to take it to him. They're his problems, right? But we try to be God. Won't work. Won't work. So when you feel depressed, right, you will start to avoid joyful thoughts or combat them, right? You don't want to hear good news. And if you do, you find the fault in it or you find the negative thing in it, right? When you are feeling low, the goal is to bring your feelings higher, right? To lift them up. So when you're feeling depressed, the goal is to come up, right? So you have to go through your thoughts and start thinking higher, right? Whatever you're listening to, it needs to lift you up, right? The people you're around, they need to be lifting you up, right? Or get away from them. When you are feeling low already, you don't need to be around people that's making you feel worse, right? Your goals, take them higher. Stop setting little goals that you know you can accomplish. Take them higher. So you have a hope in something. You have an expectation in something, right? Your confidence, lift it up, okay? You're not adding more stuff to you to add more weight to make you feel lower or go lower and deeper into sadness and hopelessness and discouragement. If you are feeling low, everything about you needs to be raised up. And if people are not assisting with that, they need to go, at least until you get the strength and you're able to regulate your emotions to a place where you can now go back and have that conversation with them, right? When you recognize anything around you that is low, pick it up, okay? If it's a sad movie, turn it off, put on a happy movie, right? Somebody has a depressing story to tell you. Sorry, can't listen to that right now, okay? You get a bad report, start lifting, go up, right? And you must lift higher than the measure of what is trying to bring you down, right? If it's doing a lot of bit to you, okay, then you got to do a lot of bit as well, right? You can't just do a little bit if the thing that's causing you to feel low is doing a lot of bit. And I know that's not correct English, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying, right? If you go to the doctor and you get a horrible report, you can't go home and cry on the pillow. You can. But after you get up, the same weight of that report, you got to do stuff that brings you higher than the weight Same weight. Same weight. Does that make sense to you all? A lot of times we get bad reports and things like that, and we go and we read one scripture. That's not going to work. If that's not the weight of that thing that's coming against you, one scripture not going to work. Okay? So, and if you've got comfortable, sometimes you get comfortable. If you've been in that place a long time, you get comfortable with feeling down and being down. Okay? How many of y'all can admit to that? But it's time to be uncomfortable and do something you don't want to do. Okay? It's okay to have some discomfort to get you mentally and emotionally well. We will be uncomfortable for a whole lot of things, right? We'll be uncomfortable for our children, for our jobs. All of us have our children, our jobs, our spouses, boyfriends, friendships. We will be uncomfortable for everything else, but we don't want to be uncomfortable to get us to being whole, right? As a matter of fact, I want you to expect not to like it, right? You might even hate it. Do it anyway, right? And that's part of the problem. People lie and tell you that it's going to feel good in that process of getting out of that negative state of mind. Yeah, you're going to feel good after, right? But that process, sometimes you hate it, right? And they want to tell you that, oh, yes, it's going to get better. But that process to get to better, you might hate it. Okay? The truth is, you might have to kick and scream and cry and grit your teeth. But tell yourself, I'm going to do it anyway. Refuse to let your life be controlled by depression. Get it out of your mind that, oh, this is easy. It may not be easy, but do it anyway. Okay? You may not feel like it. We do things all the time that we don't feel like doing, but we do it anyway. But when it comes to our mental health and our emotional health, we will not. We're not willing to be uncomfortable for ourselves, right? Discomfort is not bad. Discomfort challenges you, right? It challenges your discipline, your stability, your faithfulness. It tests who or what is really in control of your life. That's what discomfort does. Don't run from it, right? What is in control of your life? Is it you? Is it your trauma? Is it your triggers, your past, right? Is it the person you haven't forgiven? Is it your grudges? What is controlling your life? Okay? And you'll know what's controlling your life by how your life is going. If that pinched you a little bit, I'm sorry, but it's the truth. If your life is looking sad and depressed, that's what's controlling your life. If you're angry all the time, if you're stressed, that's what's controlling your life. That's what you signed over and made the agreement to here it is. You can tell me where to go. You can tell me where I can't go, right? You can tell me what I can't do. Okay. Oh, I can't open that business. Okay, you won. Right? Oh, I can't forgive that person. Okay, you won. Right? How your life looks tells you what or who is controlling your life. So be willing to be uncomfortable so that you can accomplish the goal of being happy and being whole, even when you don't feel like it. Even the thought or the feeling of being whole and complete scares you, or it just feels like too much work, right? Be willing to be uncomfortable, right? You will experience discomfort in every area, especially the areas that you've waited until now to start processing, right? And so I want to give you some homework. If you are feeling depressed, if you have depressive thoughts, I want to give you some homework, and it's a lot of work, okay? You ain't gonna like it. Do it anyway, okay? I'm gonna give you some sessions to watch, right? So the first one I want to give you is foundational principles. You have to have something that you are grounded in, okay? We use the acronym ANCHOR. We use authenticity, nourishment, which we talked about here. C is for contentment, H is for honor, O is for order, and the R is for relationships, right? Foundational principles, that's session 11. Value, right? Some of your confidence is low. You need to know who you really are and what value you have. Value was session 16. Addressing soul wounds. Some of you are depressed because there's still some wounds that have not healed. Addressing soul wounds. That is session 22. Okay? Happiness. Some of y'all don't even know what that is. Session 26. Okay? Confronting mindsets. That depression is hanging on because it has intertwined into your identity and your mindset. Confronting mindsets is session 56. Okay? Anxiety, session 59. Okay? Grief, right? Maybe you all are experiencing a loss and that's causing the depressive feelings. That's session 68. Okay? And most of the sessions are like 20. I think the longest one is about 40 something minutes. So it's a lot of time, but you can put it on while you're driving somewhere, just get it in. All right? Perspective, right? If you're used to those negative perspectives, that is session 70. Motivation. A lot of you might say, I'm not motivated to do nothing. No, that's not how motivation works. You are motivated. You're just motivated in the wrong direction. All right? Even if you're motivated to do nothing, that's still motivation. Something is motivating you to not do anything. Motivation is session 72. Bitter roots, right? Bitter roots, session 75. Memories. If it's the memories that keep coming back, it's not something that's even happening right now, but the memories that you have is causing you not to move forward. It's causing you to be hopeless. It's causing you to be discouraged. Memories is session 79. Guilt and shame. Remember, shame thrives in secrecy. Tell somebody about it. Take away its power. Guilt and shame, session 88. Abandonment. If you have abandonment issues, even if you don't, I think everybody should watch that one because we all kind of deal with that, right? That's session 93, abandonment. And then the one we just did last Friday, isolation. Big one, big one, big one. If you don't go to any of those other sessions, make sure you go to isolation. That's session 96, okay? So I want you to start tracking those repetitive thoughts and worries, right? Your self-destructive beliefs. Or your hopeless thinking. Start writing it down. Like get it out. Get it out of you, out of your brain. Get it out of your emotions, right? And when you write them, you can start to challenge those harmful thought patterns, right? And these negative feelings and emotions, they want to and can easily become fixed mindsets, which is very dangerous, right? They want to be permanent. And it is helpful to think of them as personalities, right? If you notice, you become fixated on things not working out, right? You refuse to see solutions. You only want to see problems. And the problem with the fixed mindset is that it traps you in repetitive cycles to keep you offended, to keep you defensive, even against you trying to get well, right? And if anything I said today offended you, right? If it stung a little bit, if you got defensive, then you are supporting your own self-limiting attitudes, okay? And self-limitations do not produce positive outcomes. I hope I pricked you a little bit because it caused you to feel something other than sadness, okay? It's only a signal. The depressive feelings and thoughts and emotions, it's only a signal that you need alignment, right? That you need to recover, that you need to be replenished, right? That you need to come out of that isolation, okay? You can do it. I know you don't feel like it. If you've been in this state a while, you don't feel like it. You don't want to, you feel like you don't have the energy for it. Do it anyway. Do it anyway, okay? So that concludes this session. If you know someone who you haven't seen in a while, share this session with them, okay? If you haven't heard from them, share this session with them because they're probably feeling a little low, feeling a little down. And there is hope. Even though that feeling of feeling low is real, there's still hope, right? And if you could detach it from your mindset, right, you can go on and be what you need to be, that God has created you to be, right? You don't have to keep going in those repetitive cycles. And you have to keep climbing. And the most important thing is you're not going to feel like it, right? If it has become a mindset or has attached to your identity, you're not going to feel like doing it, but do it anyway, right? Get you some people around you, let go of all that low stuff, everything. No sad movies, um, only comedies. No, nothing low, nothing sad until you get out of it, until you can handle it, right? So I hope this helped y'all. I really hope it helped y'all. And if you need additional help, I am the support between, maybe your pastor or your therapist. Okay, we're the support. So I'm not a coach. I'm not gonna make you feel good, right? I'm gonna tell you the truth, and we're gonna get to the bottom of that thing, even if it's 1,500 things, right? We're gonna pull them out one by one. So if you're ready, if you're really ready to do the work, you can schedule a session on www.edwinaebayou.com. You can go on there and schedule a session. The first session, first 30 minutes is free. If you have any other questions, email us at replenish3125@gmail.com. If you're ready to do some digging, let's go. Okay? Even if you don't feel like it, right? I'll see you all later. Next Friday at 3 p.m. God bless.